Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Dr. Amanda, you can call me Amanda, and today's video I'm talking to you all about my birth story. It's been about 14 months since I gave birth to my little girl, and you know, now that I'm far enough away from the experience, I can hopefully, you know, tell my story in a more comprehensive way. And also I'm hoping that this story, you know, it helps people that have gone through something similar to know that, you know, you're not alone. And also it's a bit of a cathartic you know, activity for me as well, to really reflect on everything that happened during that time. So a little bit of background. This was my first pregnancy, and I was having quite a low risk pregnancy. The first trimester, I did have some mental health concerns, just like I had antenatal anxiety. And if you go back to one of my previous videos about mental health, I do talk about that in a bit more detail. But once I kind of gotten past those kind of difficulties I was having, it was quite a low risk pregnancy. I'll be honest, I'm not one of those people that, you know, absolutely loves being pregnant. I didn't enjoy the heartburn and, you know, being uncomfortable and not sleeping very much, but I did love growing my little girl. Now, as I was getting towards the second half of my pregnancy into the third trimester, there were a few concerns that my baby was too big, that she was like too big for me. So I was having multiple growth scans, and it got to the point where the consultant that I was seeing had told me that I wasn't able to go onto the midwife-led unit and have my baby as I wanted to, but that I needed to go into the labour suite because of all these concerns about the shoulders getting stuck and all these other risks that are associated with having a big baby. Now, from my experience, you know, working on an obstetric ward before in my foundation training, and also you know, on my GP training from the paediatric side, I just didn't think it really sounded right to me that just because you have a big baby, you can't have a midwife-led birth. Especially because the midwife-led unit was literally on the same corridor as the labour suite. And I've worked in a hospital before that had the exact same layout, and if there was any emergency in the midwife-led unit, you know, all the staff from the labour suite would be over there within a minute or 2 minutes. So because I was getting, you know, a lot of this pushback from the consultant, not really wanting to go along with my birth plan, I spent a lot of time researching into, you know, giving birth. A lot of time I went into the midwife-led unit. I had sessions with the midwives there who were more than happy to have me give birth on the midwife-led unit. And I also did a course of hypnobirthing as well, just to prepare myself as much as I could. And so I was like really adamant, you know, I'm going to the midwife-led unit. And then I went to another appointment where where the consultant tried to put me in for an induction at 40 weeks at term, and I was like, why do I need to be induced? Can I not just try and go into labour naturally if this is just because of a big baby? There was literally nothing else that was concerning them. And we all know that, you know, well, I don't know if you all know, but measurements from the ultrasound scan aren't always, you know, perfectly accurate. There's loads of people that have been told their baby's going to be 5 pounds and they come out 7 pounds. So yeah, but then, you know, this induction day, and because I was quite fearful about having an induction, because, you know, having an induction, it starts to medicalise the birth experience a bit more, and your risk increases of having interventions like C-sections, epidurals, etc., and things that I wasn't really interested in. I started having sweeps, membrane sweeps from like 37 weeks, which was so early, but I was just so fearful of this induction that I just wanted to put myself into labour any way that I could. But I got to 39 weeks and I had my like last ultrasound scan, and this time, because baby's head was engaged, they couldn't measure her head, and I was there with my husband, and I went to the consultant. They were now concerned, not that she was too big, but that she stopped growing, because she was first like above the 90th centile and now she was like the 75th. But bearing in mind they didn't even get all the measurements, and actually at term the measurements for a baby are so inaccurate. But I was told, you know, baby isn't growing, and although I didn't want an induction, I was basically scared into one. And so I ended up being booked in for an induction on I was booked in for an induction on Boxing Day, and that's where my birth story really starts. But that's a bit of background. So I had an induction. Now the details of my birth, you know, the ins and outs, the labour and everything, I've got to admit, it lasted over quite a few hours to days. and a lot of the memories are a bit hazy, and so I'm going to bring Rafi in, my husband, at this point, just to, you know, help tell the story a bit more, and hopefully I don't miss anything. So welcome, Raf, everyone. Okay,
so do you want to know where we at?
So I just, obviously we spoke about the background, you know, the background, but Boxing Day we went in for our induction, and I guess what happened.
You gave your background. I should give a little bit of my background.
Okay.
So obviously, I've always seen pictures of kids, all my friends basically with their parents in the hospital. In the obligatory photo where they're holding the baby, and they had a ridiculous 80s mustache. I can't grow a mustache. This is the best I can do. But I was determined to have that picture. So
from November
I've been growing this mustache, and we were saying, or I was saying, we'll record it. We'll document the whole childbirth. That'll be really cool.
Oh yeah, we did.
And to be honest, I was there purely for Bants. I'm not gonna lie. I was there for the Bants.
The moustache was really annoying.
And when we arrived there, like there was just no Bants at all. So
it was much more serious than you expected, right?
It was, yeah.
And actually, we did start recording. I'll show you a few clips that we did, and then, like, you know, it got real, and so the recording stopped.
Yeah.
But go on. So we got there.
I was going for like the Will Smith Independence Day kind of tash. So yeah, we get there, and we get assigned to a bay. We're in there, waiting for a while, and then doctor, consultant, whoever it was, like, so we're gonna send you home, and then if you come back tomorrow, can you come back tomorrow, or the next day, and
we were like, why?
Yeah, and there was that. Just basically, there's not many people here. There's a lot of people on holiday. It's Boxing Day. So Amanda was like, and this was good though, because this is obviously where you were taking charge of your experience. But Amanda was like, well, hang on a sec, I've worked myself up for this, I've got ready for it, I don't want to go and come back and you tell me the same thing tomorrow, so I'm here now. Induce me.
Basically I said, I'm here now, I don't want to be induced. But if you're saying that I need to be induced, I need to be induced today. But if it can wait till tomorrow or the day after, then I don't need to be induced at all. So let me go home and wait till I go into labour naturally, or until, you know, I'm 2 weeks after my due date, and then induce me then. But I said, I'm not going to have an emergency induction if you're telling me that I don't need one. So either I need one, you do it today, or I don't need one and I go home and I wait to go in labour. And so they're like, okay, we'll do it today then.
So if you're wondering, Independence Day, Will Smith, 1995, 96, something like that. Yeah. So,
I have a little bit of drama. They wanted to send me home after a sweep, but they couldn't do a sweep, and there wasn't any difference, and they wanted me to come back every day until they decided to induce me. I don't know. Basically staffing capacity.
Thanks Brexit.
But they said that I could stay if I wanted to, and I worked myself up so much for this induction, that if I was going home to go and labour naturally. So they've started the induction. So the pessary's in. I've got to lie down for half an hour. I've got about 10 minutes left. And then mobilise, try and get things going, bounce the ball, walk around the hospital. I haven't got much to walk around and see.
Cool. Should we have a look at the pessary?
No. So I had the induction. They put the pessary in. I want to say it was around 10 o'clock. 10, 11 o'clock. And then we were just like there, and so you got the induction bay. There's like 4 beds in there, and there was 2 women at the time. It was like me and another woman, and then we had the pessary, and then like we go on a walk. Remember, we go on a walk around the hospital.
Yeah, because we couldn't go far. So yeah, we're walking up and down, and then all of a sudden, Nan's like, ooh. So we went back.
Yeah, I think it was about 1 p.m. when it started.
Yeah, 2 o'clock it started.
Yeah, the contraction started. And I was like, okay then, this is alright. And we've done all our hypnobirthing. I had my TENS machine, had my ball, and so I'm bouncing, the TENS is going, and it's all cool. And then
we're documenting.
Coming to
Look what time it is now.
TENS machine time.
Let's get it out. So it's now 5:30. Had it at 12. So steady-ish progress.
Yes, head's done with that moustache.
Still a walk in the park.
It looks so stupid with it.
It's because I didn't get a comb.
It's because you didn't get a comb?
Yeah, I'm supposed to get a comb in my Christmas cracker. But yeah.
Raf's got to leave at 8.
So we got, what, 2.5?
Yeah, I better go into proper labour so you can't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, baby.
We were filming a little bit, and then my parents come to bring us something to eat. And so they bring us some food, do you remember? And I'm talking to them, I'm eating, and then on the board I'm like, I can't talk. The contractions are coming, I'm like, I actually can't talk like during this. I can't get any words out. And that's when it's like, okay. Then my mum and dad went home. And remember, for induction, until you go into active labour, so that's when you're like 4 centimetres dilated or you're having like really strong regular contractions, once it gets to after visiting time for partners, which I think was like 8 or 9 o'clock.
No, it was 7.
Okay, it was 7 o'clock. The partner had to go home. And so these contractions are starting to get quite intense. So I was just thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do this with Raf not here.
It got to around the time I was supposed to leave, but Amanda got checked before then.
Yeah.
Checked all the I don't know what they were checking.
Cervix.
Oh, did she do that? Yeah. Okay. She checked the cervix.
Yeah, I was 2. Okay, thank you.
Check the cervix.
Yeah, I was 2 centimetres dilated. And I was still having, I was having some proper contractions, like really painful. Like we were walking around the labour suite, and remember I had to stop every time.
Oh, yeah,
it was really quite intense. They were.
Did you tell them about the hypnobirthing?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we'd be walking around and you'd stop.
I'd do my up breathing.
Yeah, and I'd be pressing the TENS machine and upping the levels.
And we're doing all that stuff like relaxing and, relax your body and all that things. And like, you know what, I'm handling it. I'm handling the contraction, but they were intense, very, very intense. And it got to the point where the midwives were like, we actually, you seem like you're going into active labour.
So you can stay.
Like, you can stay.
I can stay. I was like, oh, sweet.
So that was cool.
So, things are continuing to progress. I feel really sick. Really, really sick. But that's standard Amanda, innit? But we're going to time for the next hour and see what they're like. I can't lie down. Even if I wanted to, this whole, you got to be upright and forward. Like, even if I wanted to lie down, I can't lie down, it hurts too much. But I'm doing right. I've had some paracetamol, just to see if it does settle anything down. Know that it's not like, too active stuff. But we've got a new midwife because I switched over for the night. Her name's Charlie.
Third one of the day.
Yeah, third one of the day. And she's a hypnobirthing and serenity midwife, which is very great. Like, the best I could ask for being around here. I think Raf's going to have to go soon, but I'm hoping we can get our timed in before we have to leave. Yeah, but he says I'm doing good, and Charlie said I was doing good, and I'm getting another.
Getting quite intense, and it got to the point where, as the night drew on, they were getting so intense that like they moved us into the room with the birthing pool because I was just having some those contractions, man.
Yeah. So the midwife was like, okay, this is a really good sign. You're progressing. I think tonight's going to be the night. We move across to that room. We spread out. It was really nice. Like, I get your playlist going. So we had the ambience.
Yeah.
The lighting was there. Is that when she put you in the pool? She moved you to put you in the pool, didn't
Yeah, she moved me to put me in the pool.
So,
because it was a lot.
Yeah, put Amanda in the pool. And we're nice.
You said it was scary with me in the pool.
No, yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, so we were nice. Amanda got in the pool. Was really controlling the pain. The music was there. The lighting, everything was set up the way you needed it, which was really good. And I think I was just reading. I can't remember how we got to the point where I was scared for your life. Is that because they must have given you the...
Oh yeah, so the pain was getting quite bad. So they gave me some morphine, and what the morphine did, it didn't actually help with anything. What it did was made me so sleepy that I would fall asleep between contractions, but then, you know, when the contraction, like, it builds up, I would be asleep for that build up, and then it would be the height of the contraction that would wake me out of my sleep. And so it was just like this really horrible roller coaster every 5 minutes of falling asleep and then being jolted out of my sleep with this intense pain.
But that was the first.
Labour's wonderful, isn't it?
That was the first night.
Yeah.
So Amanda was in the pool when we first got in there, and the woman kind of showed me how to control it all. So Amanda was in there for about an hour maybe. We drain it, she gets out, changes back into normal clothes or whatever. But then this is when the pain was getting more severe, because obviously they set up the chair. And
I didn't know I came in twice.
Yeah, they set up the bed chair thing, whatever. So you sat on there, that's when they gave you the drugs, and you were just still really, really uncomfortable. So we got back in the pool, because I remember this was like 2-3 in the morning, and you stayed in there for another 4 hours. So Amanda's in there now, in the water. I'm around the edge, obviously coaching when she goes through all of her contractions, making sure she's breathing. But the best way for you to handle it, you're on all fours. But if you've ever been on all fours in a swimming pool or in a bath, you know that if you are able to do that, the water's going to be right there. So Amanda's now been going for ages. She's really tired. So every now and again, her head would drop. I think
it's been like maybe 13 hours by now.
Yeah. So I'm already saying, Amanda, you need to breathe, deep breaths. Yeah. So imagine one of them, but her face drops into the water as well. And
because I was tired.
Every so often, her face would drop into the water, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is so stressful. And this is what I'm saying. Like, I was ready to document all this, and it was just like there was no time to draw for a camera, because it was just like I need to be like fully aware of what's going on. When they gave you the drugs and you got back in the water, Amanda was like, babe, this is good, you know. Do you want to get in?
Oh dear.
But yeah, so that night we kind of we got through it.
Yeah. And then they've set up a bed for Raf, like a sponge thing in it. So you went onto that, and then I was like basically onto like my bed, but it was set up like a chair almost, and I was like on my knees, and I was just like falling asleep between contractions, and you know, that whole cycle. And then our mum came the next day, in the morning, and she brought us some food and whatnot. And then my mum was like there with me like during the contractions while Raf had a sleep, because obviously he couldn't sleep before that. So yeah. You didn't sleep till Mum got there. That was cool. And so the day, you know, it was going by. It was intense. The contractions did not let up. The consultant came along after 24 hours, and they examined me, and I was like 2 centimeters still after that whole night. Still 2 centimeters. They said that they could break my waters, but they think that they could get my like cervix more favourable, and so they wanted to put in another pessary for another like 24 hours. And I was like, okay then, because I was like waiting for this pessary to come out, because I was like, I just can't, these contractions, because it's artificial as well. You imagine when you go into labour naturally, your body's like slowly building up to that, but when it's artificial, because of like they're giving you hormones to bring you into that, it's like it really just hits you like a ton of bricks, man. And so they put in the second pessary, and you know, still going. Then it gets to maybe 8, 9 o'clock. And
what is this, PM?
Yeah, PM.
Okay, yeah.
And mum and dad
On the 27th.
Yeah, so it's the next day now. So it's been like 24 and a bit hours, I don't know, 30 hours, something like that. And maybe even more than that, maybe like 32 hours. So like my parents, they come again. And this time, like, you know, nothing's really happening. We're still waiting. So Mum's like, I'll stay with Amanda. Raf, you go and have a shower.
So by this point, I'm guessing, I had brushed my teeth, yeah?
I don't know if you'd brushed your teeth. But anyway.
So you see the picture. So
obviously my parents came, they looked at him and thought, yo, you need to, like, you know, shower and do whatever.
But...
And I was in the pool, you left me in the pool, yeah?
So when the parents arrived, Amanda's obviously still going through these contractions. How weird now, after, I keep wanting to say surges.
Oh, but yeah, because we did hypnobirthing, so they call them surges.
So when her parents arrived, you were going through some contractions, and it was enough for your dad to be like, yeah, guys, I'm outside.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, right, okay, obviously I've been doing this now. Like, I know what I'm doing. 36 hours, yeah, qualified. I was like, babe, jump back in the pool, fill up the pool, help her get in there. Right, I'll come back. I'm gonna go get a shower.
Yeah, you'll be back within an hour.
Something. I'll see you in a little bit. We get off. Leave Amanda in good hands with her mum.
Yeah, and this is what happens. I'm in the pool, and then I've been in there maybe an hour. The mum's like, are you going to come out? Like, do you want to come out? And I was like, oh, I don't know if I should. She's like, come out the pool. So I get out of the pool, and oh my gosh, it all hit. It was just like this weight, because obviously like this is the weight, everything hit me when I came out, and I was done. It was, I want to say it was 36 hours at that point. It must have been like a day and a half, and I was done. I was like, I can't. I was in... The contractions was too much. I was like, someone take this pessary out right now. Someone take this pessary out and do something. And I was like, give me a C-section. I'm pressing the buzzer. I'm like, no, I can't do it. My mum's like, someone help her. I can't remember all this, but but it was basically
dramatising.
It was basically that. But like, mum was like, you know, come in here. You need help. You need to do something. She needs something. It's you know, it's just too much. And I was like, I was done. I was like standing there and I was crying. And I was like, how can I keep going? I don't know how I can do this. And so then I rang Raf and I thought,
so meanwhile, like, I'm at home, I'm in the shower.
I don't know what
I get out of the shower and I answer the phone and Anna's like, yeah, Raf, so I'm getting an epidural, we're getting this baby out tonight, I'll see you in a minute. And I'm like, what? So
I don't even know how you got back so quickly, because Raf got there as we were going into the room to have like an epidural. I was 3 centimetres. They said that they can break my water. They took the pessary out, and they said they're going to break my water, and then can I walk around for 2 hours after that?
Yeah, so by the time I got there, you just started having your gas and air.
Oh yeah, gas and air.
So I was like, yeah, like literally, I brought all the stuff to the room. You were sat down with your gas and air,
and they wouldn't let me have
vexed, you know.
They wouldn't let me have any of this beforehand though. Like, you know, the gas and air. The reason why I was like running out, I was like, how can I do this? Because they were like, there's nothing else we can do to help. There's no gas in there. There's nothing. You just have to wait until you're 4 centimeters. I'm like, I can't wait any longer. So you need to do something.
But by this point, I'm vexed because, as far as I was concerned, you were in the bath. Everything was calm. When I come back, I just carry on. You're telling me you don't want, like, Amanda never wanted a epidural. She wanted a natural birth for as long as possible. So she's like, yeah, forget all that. Yeah. Like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
because
because you're my birth coach. Like he's my birth plan. He's my birth coach, and all my like desires, everything I'd talked about with you. You know, we were on the same page, and my mum was amazing, but we weren't like, we hadn't gone through everything because Raf was the birth partner. My mum was wasn't going to be that, or wasn't going to be there by herself in it. And so obviously when I'm like, okay, I need help, I just need something, Mum's like, yeah, help her in it, like sort her out. Whereas if Raf was there, Raf thinks that would be like taught me down, but
because you'd have still been in the pool. So we get there and Amanda's drugged up, and I'm like, I've never seen Amanda drugged up before, so this is new.
Well, hopefully you've never seen me drugged up before.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is new. And then I'm being updated with like, yeah, so we're gonna burst the waters. Burst the waters, yeah.
Break.
Sorry, yeah, we're gonna break the waters. You're gonna have to walk around. But Amanda's already telling me like she's in excruciating pain. So I'm like, well, how are you gonna walk around for 2 hours?
Yeah, they're like,
when you're in such pain and you're so tired. How are you gonna do this?
Yeah.
Amanda looked me dead in the eye and was like, with legs, Raph.
Did I say?
And that's when I was like, you know what, I don't want any parts of this. I went and sat down. I just sat down and yeah.
No, but what happened was they broke my waters and I tried to stand up and I was like, no, because the pain.
That's what I was telling you before.
Listen, because obviously I was already having the contractions with the pessary. That was taken out. That didn't let, like the first time the pessary was taken out, I had like a little break, but this time nothing, there was no break, it just kept going. And they broke my waters, which made everything even more intense. And I was exhausted, it'd been like 36 hours. And they were like, okay, now can you walk around for 2 hours? And I was like, huh? No, I can't. I could hardly even stand in it. I was just exhausted. And so that's when the epidural came. I don't remember what happened with the epidural. I don't know how I found it in me. Like I just stayed absolutely still. I was like, put it in. Like this is gonna help me, and I just did not move. So yeah, the epidural went in, and then I said that, you know, in hypnobirthing, it's all about, you know, being upright, being open, and so I said, put this bed into a chair, and I sat there, and I said that you've got 12 hours to get into. They said that we're going to give you 12 hours. For you to go 4 centimeters to go into active labour. What they say.
So what were you at this point?
So I was still 3 centimeters. So I was having regular strong contractions, like I was in active labour. But until you're at 4 centimeters, I don't think they classify you as that.
Okay.
And so they're like, you've got 12 hours to get to 4 centimeters. I'm like, okay, put me upright. I'm sitting here, and then.
So you sat there for 12 hours.
Yeah, so I sat there, I think for the first 3-4 hours or something, and then they were like, okay, we can put the drip up. I'm like, yeah, put the drip up, I'm ready, like, come on, let's get this cervix dilated. And I remember the the CTG was going like crazy. You could see the contractions, they were really good. You sent them to like one of my besties. Raf sent like pictures to her because she's an obstetrics registrar, and she was like, yeah, these are good.
Yeah, the midwife was saying the same. She's like, ooh,
yeah, the midwife was like, oh, this is great. And you know what, I didn't really have a break. Like the contractions were still so intense that I could feel them through the epidural, and it was still quite painful. And I pressed the button like for the pain relief, for, like, you know, to top up the epidural, and it was just like, what's the point? But I imagine it was better than it would have been without the epidural.
So 12 hours later.
No, 8 hours later, the consultant comes in the morning and he examines me and he's like, okay, you're 3 centimeters. We're going to turn the drip up all the way. We're going to give you 4 more centimeters, but 4 more hours. But you know, if you've not dilated, it's going to be C-section. And at that point, I was like, well, it's a C-section then. Like, how am I going to do this in 4 hours? If we're going to do it in like, how many hours is it now?
So at 8 hours, did they check you again?
Yeah, they checked me.
Yeah, and you were.
And I was 3 centimeters still. Yeah. And then after the 4 hours, this is my mum was there and Raf at this point. So Raf, like they put a bed out for him again, and he'd fallen asleep. You were gone. He'd take his top off to go to sleep, which is mad.
I was half naked in the corner. Like, I had to go to sleep. It was. So I was saying, like, the fact that I had to sleep. And you didn't really have a choice but to sit there and enjoy that. Yeah,
I just, like, my midwife's called Molly, and me and Molly just chatted, like, through gritted teeth, but I could still feel the contraction through the epidural. And then it got to the 12-hour mark, and Molly's like, all right, let's check you. You've been having amazing contractions, blah, blah. So she sits there, she checks me, and she's like, and I'm like, oh. And then she goes, okay. So it's still 3 centimeters, and I was like, oh, I just can't even. I was like, fine, C-section, cool. And this was like, I want to say 1 o'clock, but basically there wasn't many people in. The consultant came, the anaesthetist came, everyone like consented me. The registrar did it, and it was just like bam. Next thing you know, I'm rolling down the corridor, going in for this emergency C-section, and then at 2:12 in the afternoon, 12 minutes past 2, that our little girl was born. Popped out through the sunroof. Popped out through the sunroof. you know, all my wishes of having skin to skin immediately and, you know, waiting to give her a vitamin K injection and not cleaning her up.
And me cutting the cord.
Yeah, all of that went to the wayside. They took her away. I think it was like, I don't know how many minutes she was off for. I was busy, you know, having chest pain.
It was a while to be fair.
Yeah, I was like, I can't breathe.
So we heard a whimper when she came out.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of it.
Which sent me off. Yeah, that when I heard, I was like, oh my goodness. And I couldn't control myself.
So yeah, we heard the whimper. And then we just didn't see her for ages, and Amanda was like, "Oh, go see what's happening." So I just got up and went over to see what I got on, and I was like, "Dad, can you go sit back down?" I was like, "Can I see my child now?" Like, we'll bring her. So sat back down with Amanda. They brought her over eventually. She wasn't breathing properly. Or she didn't have enough oxygen.
Yeah, something. She wasn't breathing properly. They had to do something, not major resuscitation, but something they had to do. Then they brought her over, and she was fine. And then Raph had to leave with her. Yeah,
they literally was like, "Okay, Dad, if you could go outside," and I'm like, "With the baby? What? Yeah. Oh my, are you coming with me?" Or so yeah, I basically went out and just sat there with the whole baby, just me and her. It was mad.
Yeah.
And I had to wait for Amanda to come.
Yeah, and then they stitched me up, and I came out. It'd been like 48 hours of contractions, labour. It was, I was exhausted. And everyone talks about this NHS toast, which I've experienced in night shifts, but that NHS toast was like sand in my mouth. I was just so dehydrated. But yeah, we had a little girl, and I was just so like out of it and drugged up. There's this video that Raph took of Isabella when she's like on the bed, first few minutes, and she's like
with gangly legs.
Yeah, really long legs and arms, and she's just like squirming around. And in the background you can hear me, "My baby," and I'm just so drugged up and like out of it. And Raph sends that video to everyone. Literally everyone has this drugged up voice.
I'm sure you'll see it.
Oh my gosh. Look at her. I can't believe that we did that.
Yeah, she's massive.
Oh my gosh, my beautiful baby. Okay.
And so this is the bit where it gets interesting. In the recovery room after the C-section, it was wonderful there. I had my own midwife, everything. I was brought food, drinks, whatever. And it was just, you know, us guys there. And then we got taken up to the postnatal ward, where my parents came and met us, and they met their granddaughter. And at that time, I remember how swollen I was. Bearing in mind that I had my massive pregnant belly and I sat up for 12 hours straight, my legs were like the Nutty Professor.
Yeah. So you know Nutty Professor where he has that dream.
80 over 110 and still climbing.
What's the status? He's getting fatter. We can't stop it. Damn.
Blood pressure 200 over 140.
Oh my god!
Oh my god, he's good!
Get it out of here!
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
like with all due respect on that, it was wild. So
yeah, my legs were massive. But anyway, I went up to the postnatal ward, and things just changed up there. I wasn't being listened to or really taken care of. Like, I just had this massive C-section. I hadn't slept for 48 hours, and I was calling the midwives, you know, asking for help with feeding her or just anything, you know, needing just anything, and nothing was happening. And my best friend, she came as well that night, and I know I was completely drugged up. I don't even know what was going on, but she came to see me, and she had a newborn at home. Well, she was like, her daughter actually 4 months. She had a 4-month-old at home, and things were so not great. The care that they were seeing, obviously, I was still very out of it, but the care that I was receiving was obviously not up to par. So much so that my best friend with her little 4-month-old baby at home said that she can't leave me here overnight by myself. She's like, "I've got to stay with you."
Because I wasn't allowed to stay.
Yeah, because it wasn't like a single room, so you know, males weren't allowed to be on the ward. It's a female bay, obviously. And so she's like, I can't leave you like this. Like, I can't, like, what's gonna happen to you overnight? I can't leave you here. And then my mum was like, obviously don't be ridiculous, like, I'm gonna stay. And so my mum stayed with me all night, and I don't know what I would do if she didn't stay with me. At one point I called one of the midwives to ask for like some advice about feeding Isabella, and I was told to strip her off and she'll feed. And then midway through talking to me, the woman next door to me buzzed, and she was a white woman. And the reason why I am going to talk about, you know, her being white and me being black, is because there's been this inquiry called the Embrace, which has found that black women are 4 to 5% more likely to die from childbirth related and pregnancy related complications than our white counterparts. And the care that I received after Isabella was born, in that first week, I think you can, when I reflect on it, I think I can see a lot of the issues and why these things might arise. But luckily, because of my knowledge, my background, and that of my friends as well, and family, I was able to advocate for myself and get the care that I needed. But I know a lot of people aren't in that situation. So yeah, like I said, she was midway through the sentence of me being in the bay for maybe like a minute, and then the woman next door buzzes, the white woman next door to me, and there's only a curtain between us so I can hear everything, and she goes in, and almost the exact same sentence that I said, you know, that she needs some help with breastfeeding, she doesn't know what she's doing. The midwife then stayed in there for 45 minutes with her and never came back to me. And I remember buzzing once before and one of them saying that, oh yeah, they'll be back to me, but they never came back. Yeah, and so it was just me and my mum overnight, and I just don't know what I'd do with that. Like, if I need the toilet, my mum would like help me to do everything. The midwife, they just weren't, it was as if I didn't exist on the ward. And so the next day, I didn't expect to go home the next day, but I did ask, you know, as most people when they're in hospital, they don't really want to be there. I asked, so what happens, how long, you know, what's going to happen now? How long I usually stay in hospital for? You know, just some kind of guidance. And she said, oh, well, you know, once you're like weeing, you know, after your catheter's out, and you know, and you're able to mobilise the toilet and stuff, then yeah, you can go home. And I was like, oh. And I was like, well, my catheter's out. And she's like, yeah, so if you have a shower, you know, you can go home today if you want. I was like, okay then, I'm not actually getting any real care in here. And I was like, but I'm still like having quite strong painkillers. And she's like, yeah, so you can just have like paracetamol and ibuprofen when you go home. I was like, okay then. Well, so what, I can go home today? And she's like, yeah, you can go home today. I didn't ask to go home, I just asked what happens, you know, just some kind of idea. Am I in here for like 3 days, 4 days? What's going on? And she was like, yeah, go home today. So I was like, I'm not getting much care here, so I may as well go home to the comfort of my own home and not get care there, but get looked after by, you know, my husband and my family and whatnot. And so that night, yeah, we went home that evening.
Yeah. Slowest drive home of my life.
Yeah, and so we get home and like mum and dad's cooked all this food, and I remember sitting in the kitchen with Raf, my parents, eating while my brother had Isabella in the living room, and it's all fine. And then we went upstairs to bed, and your mum called. Do you remember?
No.
Yeah, so he was speaking to his mum because she's in Jamaica, and so he was speaking to his mum like on the video call, whatever, saying, hey, we're just gonna go to bed now. And then I went to get into bed and I couldn't lie down.
Oh, I remember, trying to prop up like loads of...
Yeah, I just could not lie down. The pain was insane. I was like, I physically cannot lie down. So you brought in the rocking chair into the bedroom, so I tried sitting on that for the night, and like reclined with my feet up, and I was like, oh. So then I ended up downstairs because I was just in so much pain. I was just on the sofa with Isabella, and obviously the Moses basket and things. And then, yeah, that was the first day. And then, you know, next day was like, oh yeah, it's quite uncomfortable. And I remember like two of our friends coming over, like Isabella's godparents, and I was saying, don't make me laugh because the pain, which I know about C-sections, you know, you get pain like that. But as the time was going on, the pain was getting more and more intense. Like I couldn't do anything. I couldn't lie down. I could hardly move. I couldn't even lift up Isabella. Like, people had to pass her to me. I was just in so much pain. And then, so that was the first day. Then the next day, so the next day when she was 3 days, that night was the worst night ever. And I remember like panicking so much because she kept crying, and I was like, what's going on? Is it that I don't? And I was like, I'm not feeding her, I've not got any milk, what am I doing? And I was just like so panicked. I was in so much pain. And then I remember maybe like 5 or 6 in the morning calling my parents and being like, I need you to come. I can't cope, I'm just in so much pain. And I remember that because the midwife came after 24 hours of being at home, I told her how much pain I was in, and she was like, yeah, C-section, make sure you keep it with your painkillers, blah, 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 everything's fine. Had a look at my wound. And then the next day, day 3, it was too much. I was just in tears. I felt like I was just, I don't know, it's such a blur, but I just remember being like, this is too much. And so I called maternity triage saying, you know, I'm in a lot of pain. I had a C-section 3 days ago. It's like, I'm in a lot of pain. And they're like, well, your midwife will be out to see you today, so just let her check you over. And so my midwife came, and this time it's a black midwife. And again, I am going to mention people's race, so I think it is relevant. And this midwife came, she did exactly the exact same thing the other midwife did the day before. And when she put her hand on my stomach, like just even the lightest touch, I couldn't even stand that. And she was like, no, that's not okay. That's not normal. And I spoke to my friend, you know, who's in obstetrics, and she was like, I think you should go to hospital. And now talking to her afterwards, she's like, she was actually really concerned, but she didn't want to alarm me like over text or anything. And so I went into triage. So we went to the hospital, and I remember one of the midwives who was on the delivery suite when I was in labour was there, a really lovely woman. And there was another, and then I was seen by one of the doctors who was a GP trainee who was on his like obstetrics rotation, I guess. And he was a black guy, and he came in to see me, and he didn't even want to examine me at first, do you remember? He didn't want, I was saying how much pain I was in, and he was like, well, you've had a C-section, C-sections are painful. I was like, okay, and I felt like an idiot at this point. I was like, I'm a doctor, you know, how can I come into hospital with just like pain after a C-section? I felt like an actual idiot. I didn't feel like I should be there. And I just felt so dumb for being there, and I felt really vulnerable, and like it was day 3, and if you, mom, you know about your milk coming in on day 3, so I just felt like just a mess. And he said that to me, and I was like, oh, why am I here? I was like, well, I just need some painkillers. If I can just have some for the pain, I'll go home. Then he's like, oh, okay, I'll give you some PR diclofenac or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, can you like examine me? Do you mind having a look? And he was like, okay then. So I had to ask him to examine me, which is ridiculous. And then he went to lie the bed back, and as he dropped the bed back, it dropped really quickly, and I screamed in pain, like screamed out, like it was the
But the irritating thing was, you were talking about how sore you were, and especially like going from lying down to sitting up, because you hadn't actually you hadn't laid down for ages. So he was like, all right, yeah, cool, drop the table back, and it's like,
and I literally screamed my head off. And then he examined me, and he was like, okay, yeah. And his plan was still the same. He was like, yeah, okay, so we'll just give you some painkillers and you can go home. Then he came out the curtain, and that midwife that was on the labour suite, he's like, was that woman in there that you want to send home? He's like, you can't, she's screaming, like you can't send some, that's not normal after a C-section. And he was like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you need to go and get one of your seniors. So I stayed there, and then one of the registrars came, obstetric trainees, and she was like, no, we need to get a CT scan, we need all this stuff, you need to have bloods done, and you need to be admitted. And I was like, oh my goodness.
So this time you had your own room?
Yeah, so I had my own room, it wasn't in a bay, and I remember...
Still not big enough for me to actually be in there overnight, but...
Yeah, Raf couldn't stay overnight. I think they said they could get you a cot or something. I was like, there's no, like, I need you to be rested, because in the daytime I can't do anything. So that's what, you know. And yeah, that night I remember like my grandparents, they had been in London for the Christmas, and so they'd just come back, and I was like, I really, really want to see them, and they came that night. That was really nice. My parents brought them, and they got to meet Isabella. And then the night, yeah, so everyone left, and it was me and Izzy, and...
Wait, hold on a sec. Wasn't this New Year's Eve?
Yeah, it was New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on New Year's Eve that I was admitted. And so obviously me and Raf, we stayed there until like after midnight. They let him stay that late because it was New Year's Eve. And then he went home, and that night I found it really difficult to lift Isabella. I couldn't lift her out of her cot, so I had to keep ringing the buzzer to lift her out. I remember the midwives and healthcare assistants, they all seemed very bothered by me doing that. I remember one healthcare assistant wouldn't talk to me, no words. She'd walk in, I'd say, I could have the baby or whatever, and she'd pass it to me, she'd walk out without a word. And she couldn't even look me in my face, and I have no idea why. But she was very annoyed that I was recording the buzzer for someone to help me. And I remember walking to, like trying to go to the toilet, and I was in so much pain that I was like literally, on the walls they had rails, and I was dragging myself along, and the midwives would walk up and down, they'd see me there, and the other staff, and like nobody would help. And I remember I went to the toilet and I was like passing massive clots. And I know that after you give birth, you know, you are bleeding, but because my bleeding has started settling down, I also know from my background that it's not normal to start passing huge clots after things have started settling. And so I went to one of the midwives. She wasn't my midwife, but somebody that was working on the ward. I was like, I'm passing like really big clots, and like I actually, and she was like, yeah, that's normal. I was like, no, like really big. So I saved one. It was huge, and she was like, yeah, she didn't even look really. She's like, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just go and get some more rest. And then I was like, okay. And then I went to the toilet again, and it was again massive clots. Then I went back to my midwife to tell her. And I started talking to my midwife, telling her what's happening. And then that same midwife I spoke to before was there. And she talked over me. She's like, I've already sorted it out. I've already spoken to her. I told you it's fine. It's normal. Go back to your room. And I was like, okay. I know it's not normal. I was feeling so unwell. And bearing in mind, overnight, I had those bloods done, but nobody told me what the results were. I had no treatment. I was just like left overnight. And then first thing in the morning, I was feeling just really, you know, fragile, unwell. And I'd called Raf and he was like coming, whatever. It's my mum's birthday, her birthday is New Year's Day. And I was just like trying to get Isabella ready. So she's on the bed with me and I'm just trying to get her ready, like change a nappy. And she does this like poo explosion everywhere. And I was like, oh, for goodness sake. So I'm trying to clean her like just everywhere, all over me, all over the bed. And then as I'm trying to clean her, I'm covered in poo. The consultant, no, it's the ward round, and the midwife comes in and the consultant, and they're like, we need to do the ward round. I'm like, oh, like I'm literally covered in poo. Can I have 2 minutes? I'm like, no, like it's all right, we'll sort it out now. Midwife scoots up Isabella, wraps her in a towel, puts her in the cart, and they start talking to me, and they're like, so your blood tests have come back showing that you've got a really quite severe infection, and we need to cannulate you, and we need to start you on some IV antibiotics and blah blah. I remember the registrar, she was a black woman, and she was like, are you a doctor? I was like, I've heard that you're a doctor or something, it says in your notes. I'm like, yeah, I am. She's like, oh, okay. And then she's like, so basically, and she explains it in more medical terms, what she thinks is going on. And she gives me, and then she comes back herself to do the cannula. She's like, I'll do it myself. And so she sorts me out, and we're sat there talking, and I was like, I feel like such an idiot for coming in. She's like, no, if you left it any longer, it could have been more serious. So it's really good that you came in and, you know, you stayed. And I was given antibiotics, and I remember just like feeling so, I don't want to get upset, but I remember feeling so like relieved that somebody was like believing me that something was actually wrong. And my mum came, and my dad and my brother, because it's mum's birthday and usually we all meet up, they all came and we gave her presents and stuff. But when they got there, I was just a mess, like in floods of tears. And my mum, just bless her, man, she's just so amazing. She like took Isabella and cleaned her up, and then she took me like to the shower and she showered me. Oh, I don't get upset, but I literally don't know what I would do without my mum. Like seriously, becoming a parent and becoming a mum myself, it helps you really like realise how much your parents do for you. And so yeah, on her birthday, she took her grown daughter to the bathroom because nobody was helping me in the hospital, and she showered me and she got me ready, and yeah, and then everything changed from there. My care really changed. People like listened to me because they found out I was a doctor, I guess. And I had my treatment, and then I came home. But yeah, that's my birth story. It was those last few days, those first few days were probably like some of the scariest days of my life. You know, feeling so vulnerable, not knowing what's wrong, and then like whenever you mention something to someone, they're just like kind of dismissive of it. And then so much so that you feel stupid like going in, and then like finally being told that, you know, you're actually quite unwell. And I remember like, I don't need to go into too many details about like everything, but I was just in a lot of pain. I had to have like scans done. I was on a drip for about 3-4 days. And yeah, I couldn't walk, I couldn't do anything. It was just it was a really tough time. And it's upsetting because those first few days with my daughter, and I was only in hospital, I came home by the time she was 7 days, but those first few days in hospital, they were just, it's a blur.
Do you know what as well? It was difficult because obviously I'm trying to look after you, and I'm trying to look after Izzy. And it's supposed to be like a really like happy time, isn't it? But as well, I felt really guilty because every night I was going home. So I came like, yeah, literally every night after you gave birth, I was at home, in the couple hour home.
But
and
you,
stuff like that.
but no, to say for Rafa, he was running around like an absolute madman. You weren't like going home from like 6 o'clock and not coming back till 10 in the morning. He was literally like with me until like between 10 and midnight, however long they let him stay. He was back first thing in the morning, and he was like literally taking care of everything. And when he came back, like he was taking care of me and he was taking care of Isabella. Yeah, but like you needed to sleep, because if you didn't and we were both tired, like who the hell was doing anything in the day? But it was just awful, and it was awful being ignored like that, and looked at like that. And at the time, I didn't know. But then as time went on afterwards, and I had like a reflect on everything that happened, I did start to wonder, was any of this because of the prejudices that are in the medical world, like all this institutional racism? Was that why I wasn't being listened to? Why my pain was being ignored? Yeah, like why? Because the thing is, like, I was basically septic, and I know that with sepsis you're supposed to give antibiotics within the first hour of coming in, or the first hour of realising this. No one even took the time to chase my bloods. It wasn't until the next day on ward round that they chased my bloods, and by that time, like, the infection was so bad, like the foul smell that it was just awful. But I'm fine, I'm fine now, and my baby is amazing and healthy. But it's something I want to have more children, and just thinking about like that birth, sometimes it does fill me with some anxiety when I think about having another child. But I know that you can have some amazing birthing experiences, and you just have to know what your rights are, know what care you should be having, and advocate for yourself. And when you become a patient and you're vulnerable, sometimes you don't have all the words, sometimes you can't do that because you're in too much pain, or you're feeling too weak. And that's why you've got to have really amazing people that you have spoken to about what your wishes are, and that advocate for you as well. But yeah, that was my birth story. I'm sorry it's not a really positive one, but I hope it does help someone. And if you are a healthcare professional that is looking after people that don't look like you, or people that look like you as well, but you're looking after a black woman, maybe think about the way that you're treating them. Is there a difference? Evaluate the way in which you care for your patients. It made me evaluate some things that I do as well. Whether the institution that I've been taught and trained in has affected me. So it did make me reflect. I just hope it makes other people that are in those positions reflect as well. And yeah, let's hope baby number 2, whenever that happens, it's a better story, and we come on here like it was amazing. She came out in 2 hours and it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, wishful thinking. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye.